Just arrived on the canal for some chub fishing, a boat coming through the lock, so I thought I'll just put my my hook bait out. I won't bother baiting up, I'll wait for the boat to go past. Anyway, my bait was in the water and look what happened, the rod went round and I've caught a carp. I think that must be the quickest canal carp that I've ever caught. Even when I'm fishing for them and targeting them, they don't come out that quickly. Anyway, it wasn't in a very good condition. I think one of the problems with the local canals, the urban canals, is that the carp, say talking about those in particular, the carp either get eaten, they get moved on and put into pools closer to where people live, or else they end up like that one in a sorry looking state. We've gone from quite a nice afternoon to potentially looking quite miserable now. The wind's picked up, the rain's just started to come in, and it's gone quite chilly. This is the thing with the British weather, isn't it? It can change literally from 1 minute to the next, and a lot of anglers ask the question about the conditions. Are the conditions too bad to go fishing? Well, this is what I always think. Go fishing first, and then when you get home, then decide if the conditions were too bad or not. In other words, just go anyway. I'm fishing on this first session, and I say the first session because I've only got a few of these boilies with 10mm boilies. I've got a few left over in a bag, so I decided to come and use them up. I'm fishing 2 on a hair with a size 6 hook. I'm dipping them as well, and I'm also throwing some pellets out to bring the fish in. I'm into a bream actually. I can see it out there. It's only a small one, of course, being the canal. We're not talking about slabs, but skimmers. Anyway, that's in the net now. I would say come back when you grow up to be a big boy, but they're not going to get that big in the canal. Certainly not the sort of size that I'm interested in targeting anyway. I actually had a little bit of a pull on the rod tip, and I struck into it. I think there's obviously a fish on there at one stage, or a fish messing around with the bait at one stage. Anyway, I lifted into it and he started to swing round, and I thought, I wonder what this is. It's a Coke can. This isn't a Coke can for sure. I think I've got my first chub of the session. Got to be careful landing these fish because I've got overhanging trees over me, so need to be a little bit careful. Yeah, I can see those great big rubber lips. Not a big fish, but nice to get one. My target species. Well, I'm certainly hoping to catch much bigger this week, but it's great to get off the mark, isn't it? I'm into another chub. No, not a bream. I was convinced that was a chub. It's come to the surface out there. Actually, I ought to have known really, because it was a bream bite. The chub that I get into definitely take the rod tip round. Not a bad fish really for the canal. I think if you were a matchman and you were catching bream like this, because I've definitely got them out there because they're plucking at the bait. If you were a matchman and you were filling your net up with fish like this, I think you'd definitely be a happy bunny, wouldn't you? You can see there the boilie still intact with the hook on the hair rig. It's a 16mm this time. I'm fishing with M2, and again, as the first session, I've got some that I want to use up, and they're working, aren't they? I'm into a fish quite early on. I'd like to see what it is. It's a bream. That's actually quite a decent fish for the canal, and as you can see I'm back to the 10mm boilies, M1 this time. It's no coincidence that I've gone back to the 10mm boilies and I've picked up a bream. It is true, generally speaking, that the bigger you go with the bait, the more you eliminate the smaller fish. But as far as chub are concerned, even the tiniest chub has a massive mouth. So really, when you're targeting them, it doesn't matter in terms of whether you use a 20mm boilie or a 10mm boilie, because you're not going to eliminate smaller chub. But what I'm really hoping for, of course, is to get one of the biggies that reside in this venue. This isn't a bream for sure. And it's not a carp either. It's my target species, the chub. I had a right old pull round then on the rod tip. In fact, I was a little bit distracted at the time by something else, and I come back to reality with my rod pulled round. Not a big chub in terms of being massive, but if you saw the rod tip pulled round then, you'd have thought I got a monster on. Let me show you my setup. I get asked a lot what sort of rig am I fishing with. Very, very simple. It's a 1/3 of an ounce lead. That's free running, of course. And then I've got a swivel with a bead system that fits over it. I've got a very short hook length on this occasion, about 5-6 inches. I'm fishing with a Drennan Super Specialist hook at a size 6. And of course, on this occasion, a couple of 10mm boilies air rigged. Very simple, but it's working. Another proper pull round, and I'm onto it in an instant this time. I was focused. Just had a boat go through, although it didn't actually go over my bait. But don't let boats worry you too much, certainly this time of the year where there aren't too many. In the summer may be a problem, but just about to come in the net. But at this time of the year, not too much of a problem. Actually, you can even stir the bottom up a little bit when it's clear, or when the water's clear. The best fish of the week so far is actually blind in one eye. That's the one away from the camera at the moment, but it certainly hasn't stopped it feeding, has it? First light, and I've just had a boat come through, which is a very, very early one, but oddly at the boat passed, and my rod bent over in a hoop, and the fish has gone into all this vegetation that's hanging over. But as you can no doubt hear there, I've just got it out and I'm about to net it, and it's a chub. Nice enough fish. Back to the comments I made earlier in the video. If you were a matchman in the days when we used to have big contests on the Severn, and you got yourself into a shoal of fish this size, you'd be more than happy with that, wouldn't you? While I'm watching my rod tip and waiting for another fish, I'll share a few thoughts on water temperature. There are a number of factors that we put into the mix to determine what species we go for, what venue we fish, and all that sort of thing. One of them, which I feel is an important one, is water temperature. Now, during the summer months, a degree here and there doesn't really make much difference. If the water changes from 20 to 21, 19 to 20, it doesn't really have an effect upon the fish. But during the winter, when the water temperature, say, is 4 Celsius over a period of time, and then it starts to rise and it goes up to 5 Celsius, now it's still only 1 degree, but it's actually a 25% increase. And that's, in particular during the winter months, that's when water temperature, as far as I'm concerned, really comes into its own. And one of the things that I always take with me is a thermometer, and I monitor the temperature. And it's not just the temperature, but it's the trend, whether it's going up or down. And that helps me to determine, as I've said already, the species that I fish for, the venues that I go on, because what I've found over the years of keeping records of temperature is that some venues have a higher winter temperature than others, so that helps you again to plan your sessions and to be as effective as possible. Now I share these readings particularly during the winter months, so check out my Facebook page. I put them on there, publish them on there. You might not fish the venues that I fish, but at least it gives you a bit of an idea of what the trends are and where the temperatures are going. But I do recommend anglers to get themselves a thermometer. It's a handy piece of equipment, and one of the big mistakes that many anglers make is during the winter months, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun starts to set, the air temperature plummets. It can go from 10 Celsius down to 4 Celsius in just half an hour. It can really plummet once the sun sets, and they pack away. They think, oh, it's getting cold, the fish will stop feeding. But water temperature and air temperature don't move at the same rate. So whilst the air temperature is dropping significantly, the water temperature is holding up. In fact, a little bit of cloud cover comes over, it can even rise 0.2, 0.3 of a degree. And so it's important not just to go on the air temperature, that's really about us and how we feel the cold or whatever, but what's really important, what we really have to focus on as far as an angler is concerned, is what's happening beneath the surface of the water. Striking into another fish, I knew what it was. It's a bream. I could tell from the way the rod tip was just bouncing around rather than being pulled over. As you can see, I'm fishing with the M1 boilies again this morning. I've got some bream out there, I can tell from the little plucks that I keep getting on the rod tip. And talking of other species, I've also done some roach fishing on the River Severn. Not enough to fill a blog entry though, so I thought I'd share the photographs in this particular video. The video comes to an end now. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, why not share it? I'd appreciate it if you do. And I'll see you next week. In the meantime, as always, out and about yourself, tight lines.